Hey guys, welcome to Weekly Storytime. If you like these storytime videos, give this video a like, leave me a comment, let me know what you think down below, and subscribe if you're not already. All those things really do help out the channel here on YouTube. But if you want to support us even further, help us continue to do what we do here, the best place to do that is over on Patreon. With your Patreon membership, you get Patreon exclusive bonus episodes as well as access to our Discord server, so definitely check it out if you're interested. So on today's video, I want to talk about corrections. I recently earned a correction, and so I want to talk through what that was about, why I earned it, and how an earned correction is so much worse than a preemptive one. So we've been using preemptive corrections as a form of maintenance, where we still go through our maintenance system a few times a week, but we've been using corrections more often, just preemptively, to kind of set the tone for our day, to make sure that we are starting on a good note, that we are setting ourselves up for success. And that's been working really, really well for us. That's something that we have found a lot of value in. When Coda uses preemptive correction, it is definitely still intense. It's something that, he wants to make sure that it does what it's supposed to do, that it's helping me. And in order for it to help me, it has to have an effect. But it definitely is not as severe as an earned correction. And I found that out basically by earning a correction and quite literally feeling the difference. So recently, Coda has started holding a higher standard for the way I interact with him, my demeanor, my mood, and how I speak to him. And what that means, because you might be thinking to yourself right about now, that hasn't that always been the case? Hasn't there always been an expectation about how you speak to him and how you interact with him? And the answer is yes. But he has taken it to a new level of just expectation, to where things that he would have let go of in the past because they were, very short interactions or very minor interactions where he would kind of just let those things go. Now he's holding accountability because he wants to raise the standard. He wants me to start to develop a higher level of just development in that area. And so this was one of those cases where we kind of just got our wires crossed, had a little bit of a miscommunication, and I didn't necessarily like the way he said something. And instead of being honest with how I was feeling and saying it in a way that still honored his authority and was still respectful, I kind of got a little guarded, a little snippy, a little defensive in how I spoke to him, and that was not acceptable. And as soon as I felt my whole demeanor shift. And as soon as I said what I said, I was like, oh, he's going to correct me for that. I knew that what I said and how I said it was not acceptable. And so when he came back and told me that I was getting a correction, I was not surprised whatsoever. And so we come out to do the correction, and I obviously know what a correction is. I know that the structure of it, the basic structure of it, and I know kind of what I'm in for. So he always lectures before earned spankings. So he lectures me about how I am not allowed to speak to him the way I spoke to him. He lectures me about the expectation. And one thing that he's been doing that's been really helpful, and it really is developing my character and helping me develop and just raise the bar as far as like getting to that next level of personal development, helping me become my best self, the best version of myself, all those things, is that in his lecture, he lectures about what I am expecting him to lecture about. I knew that the way I spoke to him was inappropriate, but then he always throws in something that I am not expecting. And that is, he takes it to a new level and really points out how what I did affects him and how it affects our relationship, and points out the motive that it expresses. And so for this particular time, he pointed out, he lectured about how I spoke to him was unacceptable. And he said that I did not realize, because in my mind, I was just kind of reacting to what he said. I didn't mean for it to be disrespectful, but that's what he pointed out, was that how I spoke to him was disrespectful and how it undermined his authority. That was something that I was not expecting to hear, because it's not something that I felt in my motive. It's not something that I recognized at the time, but he was absolutely right. And so I took that in, and he asked me before the spanking started, he's like, do you see how what you did was disrespectful? And I'm really thankful that there isn't an expectation that I answer immediately, because I really replayed the interaction in my mind. I really thought about it. And as I was thinking about it with the lens of recognizing the disrespect in the interaction, that's when I realized, and I was like, yes, I see how this was disrespectful and how it came across, and that I see how, even more so, how that was just absolutely not okay. And that really did prime me to accept the correction that I got, because I was not expecting it to be quite as intense as it was. So he had me get in position after he lectured me, and our corrections are 5 minutes of spanking. He always starts with a leather paddle. It's 1.5 minutes on each side with that. Our leather paddle, it is so versatile from the standpoint that it can feel like very mild, but it can also feel very intense. And so typically when he does preemptive corrections, he tries to make sure that it, like, I can feel it, but it is more of like, it's not necessarily as intense as any of our other implements. And so I wasn't expecting the sensation that came, because he was definitely using the intensity of punishment, and which to be expected because it was earned. And so when he started, it absolutely took my breath away. I was like, oh, this feels so different. It definitely felt like he was offended by my behavior, and he was. And he should have been, because I was disrespectful to him, because I didn't respond appropriately, because I chose to become defensive and snippy and have an attitude when I should have communicated more appropriately. And so he was offended by my behavior, and the way he spanked me definitely communicated that he was offended. Now, he was absolutely in control, and not at any point did he cross a line or cross a boundary, but he definitely made sure that I knew through the spanking and through the process that what I did was unacceptable, and that I was being reprimanded and properly chastised for it. So he gets through the leather paddle. I'm already like feeling it so intensely. And then he starts using our hairbrush style paddle. And that thing can really sting. It's a lot. I think that because of the shape of it, because of the way the handle's shaped, it's so balanced, and it can really, like, it's intense. And because he was offended, he was definitely making sure that I felt every single one of those swats. And it was a lot to take, and it definitely felt like too much. It definitely crossed that threshold of like, I want to crawl out of my skin, because it does not feel like I can take one more swat of this paddle. And obviously I could. Obviously I was fine. Obviously he was very much in control, and he was not actually crossing any boundaries or barriers. But it definitely felt like too much in the moment, and not at any point did I feel like I needed to stop the spanking, because if you have listened to my video on, I think it was on safe words, where I talked about how we don't use traditional safe words, but I can stop a spanking if I feel like something is unsafe. But I better have a really good reason, because if I don't have a good reason, then I'm going to be punished for stopping and interfering with his process of spanking me. And so I didn't feel like I had a good reason to stop it. Not at any point did I try to stop it, but I was just beyond myself as far as, I don't think I can handle this. But I made it through. Coda did, conducted the spanking, did what he needed to do. I did make it through, and I realized, like, at no point was it actually beyond what I could handle. But in order for spanking to be effective, especially an earned spanking, it has to cross that threshold. It has to feel like too much. Because if I felt like I could handle it, if I felt like it wasn't a big deal, then I would be tempted to not change my behavior. And I will say that that spanking was extremely effective because I have not had that response to Coda again. And I have not let myself speak poorly to him again. And so it was effective, and it did make the change in the behavior. And I feel so much comfort knowing that Coda is holding me to a higher standard, that he is not going to accept me speaking poorly to him, and that he wants my respect, and he deserves my respect, and he's going to demand my respect. And those are all good things for our relationship. Those are all things that help propel the growth of our relationship. And it would be detrimental to our relationship if he allowed me to disrespect him, even mildly, even passively. And so I really do like the fact that he respects himself enough to demand my respect, and that he is holding me to a higher standard, and he is helping me become the best version of myself that I can be. And my best is being respectful to him at all times, in all situations. And so if I fall short of that, it is a comfort to me that he is going to hold accountability, and hold high accountability, and make sure that the spanking really does count, and that it is driving the change and the growth that we both want to see in our relationship and want to see within me, because that is what is right, and that is what is good, and that is what drives growth in our relationship and what makes sense for us. So I hope you enjoyed that story. Kind of a short one, but I hope that you liked it. I hope that you got something out of it, even if it was just, entertainment. So anyway, like this video if you haven't already, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think down below, and we will talk to you next time.